Good morning, Austin, Texas. Hope everyone is doing well, has gotten thawed out from the big freeze that we had just last week. It's kind of crazy. That's been twice in 3 years now that we've had to deal with it. Hopefully, everyone was safe. Hopefully, most of your homes and property weren't damaged at all, and even your trees survived as well. But now, on a nicer, brighter, sunnier, warmer day, I get to be joined by Renee of Renee Rouleau Skincare, who is a entrepreneur that has started her own company a few years back. A lot of times in the Austin world, when we think of startups, we think of people starting a brand new company, but there's some founders out there that have had some longer term success, and she's been nice enough to join me on the podcast today. So I appreciate it.
Hi, Troy.
So why don't you kind of give us maybe a quick background origin story, a minute or two, kind of telling us a little bit about yourself and kind of what got you into your business.
Yeah. So, hello, everyone. I'm Renee Rouleau, as Troy said. My company is Renee Rouleau Skincare. I'm based here in Austin, Texas, a great city. I relocated my corporate headquarters and warehouse distribution to Austin 8 years ago and love every moment of living here in Austin. So, my journey started. When I was in high school and I knew that college wasn't my path. I wasn't the world's greatest student, as many entrepreneurs aren't. There were, back then there wasn't a thing called ADHD, but I'm sure that probably is a little bit, runs through my veins a little bit. So I knew college wasn't my path. Didn't really know specifically wanted what I wanted to do. It was my mother that made the suggestion I pursue a career in beauty because my grandmother, my mother's mother, was a hairstylist and owned her own hair salon, and she was in that environment. And I thought that sounded like a great idea. And so I started my beauty career going to beauty school when I was 19, right out of high school. And now, fast forward, I am 53 years old and I have been doing it ever since. I'm what is called an esthetician, or what is known as a facialist. And so I went to a trade school to learn that skill. It segued into me developing a skincare line, starting my company in 1996. I had my first business, my first skincare business I had for 5 years up in Boston, sold that and moved to Dallas in 96, started Renee Rouleau Skincare. And 26 years later, we are now in Austin, and I still own 100% of my company, and we are doing very well.
That's awesome. Yeah, like that's one of the things that's always interesting when you hear founder stories and startup stories. And again, that usually, especially here in Austin, in a lot of people's minds, equates to tech startup. Like, how can I be the next Facebook or the next Google, right? But way more often, the type of business that is truly successful is someone that has a passion for something and is able to grow their small to medium business, which doesn't make it any easier. In reality, to grow, you still have a lot of the same stumbling blocks that a larger business has, especially when starting off. But it's interesting, and I get to go and I enjoy going to some of the different things for founders. But it's always about how to raise money. And it's like, people think raising money is amazing, but it really is giving away part of your business, giving away part of your control. And so, like, yes, there are definitely businesses where that's needed, but to be able to have your business be successful for as long as it is and still have 100% control of it has to be a pretty nice feeling.
Yeah, I think, I have a lot of entrepreneur colleagues, and many of them who have taken outside investment because that was a decision, that they made or felt was necessary. And the amount of validation that I get when people go, Renee, if I had to do it all over again, I would do it just like you. And, I think about if I started my company now, I mean, it's just a different landscape now. And, we started e-commerce in 1999 is when I started my website, e-commerce. And we've been in it a long time. So we got a real head start that people don't now. And I think it's just much harder. I think the decision to still remain fully in control that way is ultimately because what people kind of forget is the reason why people become entrepreneurs in the first place is because they want to be their own boss, right? They worked for somebody else and
Exactly.
said, I can do it better. And they want to call the shots. but they kind of fail to realize that when you take outside investment and get investors, depending of course how you set it up, but at the end of the day you now have bosses, right? And you have to be, you have people that you are accountable to, and now you kind of don't work for yourself anymore, and now you're forced to make some decisions, that sometimes people sell their soul and have to make decisions that they never would have, but they are forced to because there are people breathing down their neck. And one of my favorite books is by Noam Wasserman, and it's a book called The Founder's Dilemma. And it basically says, do you want to be rich or do you want to be king? Because depending on which one you want to be, because you can't have both. So depending on which one you need to be, you want to be, you have to make very strategic decisions. And so I highly recommend people read, there's also a PDF you can download from Harvard Business Review, I believe, online. But yeah, people, I think in the beginning, when people start their companies, you have to be so strategic about decision making, because once you say yes to something and sign on a dotted line, maybe it's not really where you want to go. But I think in the beginning, you're hungry and you're just saying yes to any opportunity that comes your way. But then all of a sudden, someday you look back and go, how did I get here? This was not what my vision was. And so, you have to be strategic early on with understanding where you want to go and what your long-term goals are.
Yeah, you mentioned, how the school system didn't work well for you because you didn't fit your personality and what
Right.
motivated you didn't fit into that box. And
Correct.
then I think they say a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize that they're putting themselves into a different box by bringing on sometimes that other investment or trying to grow quickly, right? Like there's successful businesses who are doing well at a certain level of revenue or income, and there's sometimes this need to feel like you have to grow, and that then brings on, even if you're not getting outside funding, you now are bringing on maybe new employees, having to manage more people, do different things that it's like, that's maybe not going to make you as happy and let you be king, because now, yeah, great, I get to make the last decision, but I need to also keep all these employees happy so they
Right.
continue to work, so that way we continue to get paid. And so it's definitely a
Absolutely.
balance
Yeah.
that is probably the biggest challenge about being an entrepreneur.
Yes. One of many.
What you mentioned early on, it was your mother, you said, that had kind of pointed you towards
Yeah.
being in the hair salon and the beauty space.
Yeah.
What, once you kind of went there, what was it that kind of drew your attention and wanted you to pursue it further, right? Because like obviously there's a lot of things that our parents point us towards that we don't really necessarily pursue. I played piano for a few years, but
Yeah.
definitely never took to it wholeheartedly. What was it about the beauty space, hair salon, that really kind of captivated you and wanted you to pursue it further?
Yeah. Great question. So I think first, they always say find something you're passionate about and find a way to make money doing it. And I think that's always the missing piece. How can I, there's plenty of people who have passions, right? Like, like, hey, like you're like, hey, I like to sit and watch football all day on the couch.
Yeah.
That's my passion. But how are you going to make money
Over the
doing that?
last 10 years, though, there are a lot of people who have made good money talking about other people playing sports. So,
There
but
you
you
go.
are correct, right?
Exactly, right?
But
Exactly,
it's tricky.
exactly. So, so I from an early age, I was always into beauty, and I just always had a passion for it. Like apparently, and I didn't even know this. I went to a high school reunion quite a few years ago, and some girl said to me, she said, in the fifth grade, you were bringing makeup to sleepovers and doing everyone's makeup. Now I'm not, I don't do makeup, but like I'm an esthetician, I work on skin. But I was like, I did, and I mean that was in the fifth grade, like that's young. And then, so yeah, I was just always into skin and into beauty, and so again, you get out of high school and 99% of my high school class goes to college, and I'm the 1% that didn't. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And then my mom's like, how about you follow in the footsteps of your grandmother and go into beauty? And and I think at the end of the day, we all need a skill, right? So that's why I'm such an advocate of trade schools, right? Because you go, you learn a skill, no different than plumbers and electricians, or, you learn a trade. And luckily in beauty, there's, a demand for, beauty services. So, I think, right now in this day and age, a lot of people are like, I want to be an influencer or start a podcast, and all of those things are great, but like that must be challenging, because is this a trend? Is it going to, be around forever? I mean, we know that we always need a plumber, we always need somebody to cut your hair, you always need somebody to attend to your skin, or, I mean, not sometimes a facial is more of a nicety versus a
Sure.
necessity, but you get the idea. So I think I really liked the idea of, I'm going to school, I'm getting a license, and I'm going into a profession where I know there is a demand, and historically always has been a demand. So
Yeah, no, I think obviously with the crazy rising costs of traditional schools, UT, A&M, traditional four-year public schools, the trade schools have started to become more appealing to people. And it's nice. I mean, I'm sure it depends on the circles you run in. I'm sure a lot of people who are still primarily pushing their kids, or teachers pushing their students to the traditional four-year degree, but it feels like there's more of an openness to being like, well, hey, why not go into a specific field that you might love as a trade school, save a ton of money on
right.
college costs, and
Yeah.
have not only a skill that you can start earning money with right away, but again, because of the lack of available tradespeople that there are in a lot of lines of work, me as a real estate agent, there's tons of different trades that we're always short on, from plumbers, electricians, and everything else, that you can make a lot of money, a lot more money than people realize
Mm.
doing some of those jobs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel very lucky because I knew what I wanted to do and I got right to it, right? In college, you're kind of wandering around aimlessly, taking different classes, seeing what sticks, seeing what you like. Then you're drunk half the time. And, and I just got right to it. And I worked for 2 years at a salon giving facials. And then me and my coworker left, took our clients, started a skincare salon. So, I mean, I became an entrepreneur at 21 when all my friends were off partying in college. I was managing employees, and so, I've been doing my own thing since 21, and as I said, I'm 53 now. So like I got right to it. I didn't waste time, and a lot of that is sacrifices, right? Like
Mhm.
all during my 20s when everybody's partying and having a good time, I'm adulting. I'm managing employees. I have to put food on the table. I'm, building, brick by brick, kind of creating my world. And now the nice thing is, fast forward to today, is I can enjoy the fruits of my labor now because I put in that work. And there's a lot of people that finally around 35, they're like, all right, I better figure out this adulting thing. And what am I going to do with my life? And a lot of people are never even find their real calling in life. So I feel really grateful that today, all these years being an esthetician for 35 years, I still absolutely love what I do. I'm still so passionate about it. I still feel totally challenged by it. I never feel like I know everything. And it's an industry that has only taken off more and more. There's a lot more competition in the space, but that also means there's a lot more awareness, which means there's a lot more opportunity. I mean, people, your face, you wear your face every day of your life. An outfit, fine, you wear that sweater once a week or once a month or something, but your face showing up to the world every day, it's a it's what people see, and people want to feel confident in their skin.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure it's kind of tied into, as a society in general, it feels like we're more cognizant of eating healthy, working out, right, taking
Right.
care of ourselves. Like
Yeah,
we understand that, God willing, everything goes well, that you very easily can live to be 75, 85, or older. And so
absolutely.
it's like, well, shoot, I'd like to look good and feel good for
Right.
all that time too. So it's
Yeah.
there's been more research done as far as the benefits of how taking care of yourself in all of those different phases
Oh,
will result in better long-term
Yeah.
longevity and everything.
Yeah, right. It's all about longevity. And people, certainly when people look in the mirror, they want what they see to reflect where their brain is, right? Like you're
We
like,
all feel a lot younger, so we want
right,
to
we
look and
feel
be able to act a
younger, and
lot
then we
younger
look,
as well
right,
too.
right. We feel younger, but then we look in the mirror, and then once a year, on our birthday cake, there's a ton of candles on there, and you're like, hey, how did this happen? And so I think, my job is, yeah, just when people look in the mirror, they get to like what they see a little bit more and feel a little happier about it. And a lot of it, it's so much too about, it's like, I always kind of think of it similar to exercise. When you go and work out, right? And you come home and you look at yourself in the mirror, you know, you don't look any different, right? You haven't lost, 20 pounds with one workout or look any different. But after a good workout, when you look at yourself in the mirror, getting ready, your clothes are off, whatever, and you're looking at yourself, you feel better. You are not so critical of yourself because you just had a good workout. Why? Because that workout created all those happy hormones that make you feel better, right? So same with skin. When wash your face, you put a serum on, you put a moisturizer on, maybe you did a little facial scrub or something. When you look at your skin in the mirror, it's not like you've had a facelift. You know what I mean? Like the skin may look a little smoother or something, but you feel better. So it's those rituals that just make you, when you're putting effort into something, you get the reward of that the emotional reward of, wow, like my skin just looks better because you did something nice for it. So yeah, and people just want to feel more confident and feel better about who they are when they show up in the world.
Yeah. And like you say, similar in the fitness kind of thing too. It's not the one time thing. Like there's definitely benefits to the one time thing in a
Sure.
lot of different things, but it really is the consistency and building
Correct.
those habits up long term is where you really start to see the benefits. Whether it's eating healthy, working out,
Correct.
skincare, all those kind of things. It's really in the consistent daily, weekly, monthly habits of things that
That's right.
truly bring the greatest benefits.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's you get a short-term fix for that moment, but then if you keep up that good work, then there's that long-term benefit as well, for sure.
So you mentioned, like most Austinites, myself included, that you're not originally from Austin. Kind of what was your journey? Sounded like Boston, then Dallas to Austin. Like what prompted those moves and changes?
Yeah. So from kindergarten to my senior year in high school, I was in 7 different schools. So my dad was the first. So I was born in Minnesota. My dad was the first team of 26 people to work for Target stores. So my father was in retail. He worked for Target for 25 years. He eventually became I think he was the executive vice president when he left Target. I think that's where he had made it to. Fast forward a million years later, probably his biggest claim to fame is he was the CEO of Michael's Arts and Crafts, and which was a Dallas-based company, and took them from 400 stores to like 1,300 stores. So my dad was a very ambitious man. Grew up in rural Minnesota. Grew up with nothing. Paid for his way, from college. Paid his way through college. Was one of the few people that makes it out of the small rural town he lived in, and he wanted a different life for himself than what he saw with people around him. So I had a father that was very ambitious, but part of that is we moved a lot because he was taking new jobs, new positions within Target, et cetera, and had just a very strong work ethic. And so again, I moved a lot every 2 to 3 years. My father sat down with the family and is like, hey, we're moving. And I remember when I was in high school, one of the times, and there's a whole backstory to it, but one of the times he told us on a Friday and we literally moved on Monday. So crazy story. But anyway, so we moved a lot. And I think when I look back to those years of moving, it's never fun to all of a sudden be uprooted, particularly in junior high school or high school, and now you're leaving all your friends. Like, yeah, when you're in second grade, no big deal, right? You can make friends anywhere. But when I look back on it, I really love that we moved a lot because it allowed me to kind of reinvent my world every time and kind of make new friends, what worked, what didn't, and you kind of just start over. It's a clean slate. So when I was living in Boston, yeah, I went to high school there and then started my career in aesthetics, had my business. But ultimately, I think I got antsy because I had stayed in one place for a long time. I was like, wait, I've been here 11 years. This is insane. And I kind of wanted to, I was a different person now. Now I was an entrepreneur and I was just in a different mindset and didn't feel like my world in Boston was really who I was anymore. And I think particularly up in Boston, there's this kind of mindset where like no one really leaves. And it's this mindset like, if I haven't known you since out of the womb, like we're not, you're not in my circle. And so I was kind of moving away from some of my college friends because now I wanted something more. I wanted people that were career minded, ambitious, and it was very hard to kind of meet new people. And again, I was young. I was only, 20, my business, I had it from 21 to age 26. And it was just hard to find people like that. And so I made the decision to sell my half of the business. I'm still super close with my business partner. It was beautifully amicable, but for personal reasons, I needed to move. I needed to start over again and create a new life for who I was. So I set my sights on Dallas. I did a bunch of research and found that Dallas was going to be the place. Fun fact, your name is Troy. And part of that decision making was because I had a big crush on a quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys whose name was Troy. And Troy was in Dallas, and if I was going to marry him, well, that's where I needed to be. So anyway, so I moved to Dallas, but I loved Dallas because they're very appearance oriented, and I knew that being in beauty in a city like Dallas was going to work for me. So I had my company there for 21 years. No, 21 years. No, 19 years in Dallas. But I love Texas. I love Texans. They're very ambitious, can-do people, have that hard work ethic, which I was grown up to have. Kind of side note. Sometimes people are like, oh, Renee's dad bought her business for her. And I'm like, no, he didn't. I took out a loan from the bank. My dad is like, I had to do it myself. You're going to do it yourself. So I am, self-made in the sense that I didn't rely on anyone. I just relied on myself and glad I never asked him for money because ultimately I'm glad I did it my way. And the last thing I would want is my dad, who's very tough, to be breathing down my neck. He would have now been my boss, as I was talking about earlier. If I borrowed money from him, I would have been reporting to my dad, and I don't know if I would have liked that. So anyway, but yeah, and the decision to move to Austin 8 years ago was, again, part of that decision of like, wow, I haven't moved in 19 years and I really want to do something new. So moved to Austin 8 years ago and I love it here. I can't see myself moving here. I travel a lot, so that kind of gets me out to see the world. But Texas has been really good for me, both personally and professionally.
That's cool. It's interesting you talk about, some people. I feel like the skeptics, there's always gonna be skeptics. The skeptics, haters is what they want to call it
Yeah.
nowadays, are always going to have reasons or excuses of why something works for somebody else, but not for them. Instead of applauding that it worked for you, because even if your dad had been the one to give you money, there are plenty of people who have gotten money and still have not been successful.
Yeah.
Like that's not a
Yeah.
guarantee of success. But at the same point in time, like it sounds like there's a lot of traits that your dad probably did pass on to you that have helped you be successful as well too, that are awesome, that are awesome things that sometimes other people, if you didn't come from a home that was super hardworking, super career oriented, it's just not something that you may realize is how you can move up in the corporate world, right? And for
Yeah.
you, it
Yeah.
wasn't moving up corporately specifically, but it was still moving up in your own business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, and it's only been probably like the past 2 years that I've really taken a look at how my upbringing, particularly how I was raised by my dad, has molded me into who I am today and the decisions that I make. And I'm grateful for seeing all of that now, but also grateful that he taught me how to work hard. Like
Mhm.
he's still living, and my dad is has been very successful. But he taught me that you just put 10 toes down and you just get it done. And so I really am grateful for the hard work ethic that I have. Now, the downfall of having a hard work ethic, and sometimes that creeps into other areas of your life where you're neglecting or doing other things. So I try to get that balance to make sure that I'm not being too much of a workaholic, which certainly can be my nature.
And at the same time there, right? Like it's, the one of the big phrases over the last 5, 7, 8 years has been work-life balance. And I kind of the opinion that there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's you have your work-life balance, which might not be the right thing for me, but if
Correct.
it's the right thing for you,
Yeah.
if it's not destroying relationships that are important to you,
Yeah.
then it's a good work-life balance, and it doesn't
Correct.
mean that you need to be home more or home less or any of those kind of things. And so,
Correct.
it's always it's the easy to throw rocks at glass houses
Exactly.
when
Yeah,
you
I think, and I think for a lot of hardworking entrepreneurs, the crazy part of it is that working doesn't feel like work, but non-work feels like work. Right? It's
yeah.
like for me to I mean, I'm much better. I went through a big life transition about 4 years ago, which I could probably touch on because this is probably one of my life's greatest lessons in many ways. But basically, this past 4 years, I've explored a little bit more of working less, and it took some conditioning to go, oh wow, I actually have some things outside of work that I feel passionate about. And so I have a much better work life balance, as we call it. But at the end of the day, when I wake up every day, I want to do what makes me happy and what brings me joy and what makes me fulfilled and where I feel like my purpose is. And a lot of that revolves around work.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think any successful entrepreneur has to, again, it's not like, finding what you love kind of thing, but has to enjoy the working because it's something you have to do. I know another struggle for a lot of, especially early entrepreneurs, but even people who've been doing it a longer time, is sometimes it's hard to understand that you can step away or delegate some stuff and things will still get done to, if not the exact same level you would do them, to a high enough level that your customers, your clients, whoever sees that as good quality work, which then allows you, because again, we do only have that 24 hours in a day. And so if it's all of the responsibilities on you specifically,
Mm.
that's going to be impossible to really grow a business unless you start to let go a little bit. And so I know a number of different business owners who sometimes through accidents, or through not even through accidents, sometimes unintendedly they had to back away from a business because of a health reason or because of something that came up, and suddenly their business grew because they kind of got out of the way a little bit and had to rely on other people, when that can be a difficult thing to do as an entrepreneur, because a lot of times you get into it because I can do it and I can do it better, and I want to do it, I enjoy doing it, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that resonates with me tremendously, Troy. And I guess I'll go into the story that I mentioned. I had a big life change about 4 years ago. So I've had my company 26 years, and 10 years into my company, I think it was fiance at the time, but he joined my company as my COO. And someone gave me the advice once, business isn't romantic. And so I always hesitated bringing him into it, but I needed him and his skill set, and we decided to kind of bite the bullet and do it. So my husband, we were together 22 years. So he was involved in my company as the COO for 12 years, 12 of those of the 26. Or actually, I guess at the time, well, whatever, I'm not a math person,
Yeah,
but
that's
anyway, but point is, for 12 years, he was a great asset and a great leader in our company. And 4 years ago, he passed away 4 years ago. And sorry, give me one sec.
You're fine. That would be tough for, I mean, again, it's, I mean, it's tough whether it was a regular employee when it's your husband, and
Yeah.
obviously, you know, that makes it, it's one of the challenges of family-owned businesses is dealing with the good times and the bad times, because they get so intertwined
Yeah.
with family that it can make it challenging to not have the bad times roll over into what should be fun times of going on vacation with your family,
For
and
sure.
vice versa. But obviously, if you did it for 12 years, you had to make it work pretty well at that point in time. So then
Correct.
it makes those times even better, because you get to have these great times professionally and personally with someone that you loved that much.
Correct. Yeah. No, 100%. All of that. So he was diagnosed with cancer, and it came on suddenly. The type of cancer he had. When you get diagnosed, it's already in stage 4, and they basically gave him 6 months to live, and he passed away 2 days shy of 6 months. And so naturally, he gets this diagnosis where the doctors are basically saying, pack your belongings because you've got 6 months to live. And again, we had been together 22 years. And so all of a sudden, now you've been given this news, and he has 6 months to live. And again, he's the COO, I'm the CEO. And I think at the time, I don't know, we probably had 18 employees or something like that, both in Austin, but still we had our skincare spas in Dallas. So we still had those going. And, but, now I'm wanting to spend as much time with him as I can, me and my stepchildren. And, but also we got to make a plan for the business because, now 2 people are stepping away. And that ended up being such a life lesson there, because I had no choice but to rely on the team, and I couldn't be everywhere. And so that was really the first time that I really, let go of the vine, as the expression says, because I needed to rely on them. And what has happened since then is, once I got back into the company after he passed away, I hired a new COO, and I have, dramatically relied more on the team. It's still always a work in progress, but that was, a beautiful lesson to learn as a result of something tragic.
Yeah. No, you say it's obviously a super unfortunate situation, but as much as you guys enjoyed the business together, that's really not how you probably want to spend the last, when if you're getting hey, you have 6 months, like diving more into the business isn't really how you want to spend that time. So that does force changes. And now because he's there, you're taking 2 people out of the business, right? Not only for
Right.
you is it like, hey, I need to step away because of this situation, but my co-captain is also having to step away. So that required a lot of trust in your team, and for them to step up, which sounds like they did an amazing job of.
Yes, they did. They did. And I think, that was really, the whole thing is when I hired the new COO, the direction I gave was get me exclusively in the visionary seat. And because at the time when my husband got sick, if you looked at our company, org chart, we were still all, he had like 3 seats. I had like 3 seats. So, I mean, we were both, still, we hadn't delegated a lot, and we were doing a lot. And so now when 2 people have to step aside, that's, step away, that's like 6 seats in the company that now are on pause. And so So yeah, so I realized like that's, not that's not good. And so
Sure.
now I still have one other seat. I have two seats in the company visionary, but then I'm also in the marketing side, which is part of, I'm the brand ambassador. I do videos. I'm in charge of new product development, but slowly but surely we're trying to, get me to the point where I wear exclusively that visionary hat.
Yeah. Then you can just kind of dabble and jump, with some of the other seats and kind of use your expertise and
Exactly.
insights to help them as well. So, as the chief visionary officer, what are some of the things that you're looking to do over the next year or two with the company?
Yeah, it's such a good question and great timing. You know, with everything in life, you only know what you know, right? And you do your best to get out there, educate yourself, read books, listen to podcasts, talk with colleagues. And you're always looking how to be better, right? Both your personal life, your professional life. And I never really understood the concept of growing a company. And again, like, because I didn't go to business school or anything. And anytime I saw growth, because I was very, I grew up kind of in a household where it was kind of like every man for themselves. You don't rely on anyone. And so I built my company doing everything myself. So this is why it's been such a hard thing to delegate, because I'm just used to doing everything myself. And, but anytime I would think of the concept of growing the company, I'd go, how can I possibly grow? Because there are only so many hours in a day, and I can't, I can only do so much. So I was at the mercy of our growth. And even though we've always grown every year, but it was all like, okay, growth means I now no longer can sleep at night because I'm the one doing it. And I now have just in the past, I don't know, year really opened my eyes. And again, because I've gotten inspired from some people in my life and them in my ear about things, and really going, wow, like growing doesn't mean I necessarily have to work harder. It's working smarter. And so we're really in a mode right now for 2023 as we are exploring some growth strategies that I never thought I would do, because again, I'm like, I can't do it. I don't have enough room, hours in a day. And so it's a really exciting time because we're exploring some things I never thought I would do. And not that because they were bad, but again, I was like, I can't
Your
possibly do
plate's
that.
full.
My plate's full, or I don't have the expertise. I
Sure.
only know what I know.
Yep.
Well, guess what? There's people out there that know how to do these things. And so we're hiring a lot more right now. We're hiring 3 new people this month, and really kind of getting a little clearer on our long-term plan. And now I'm like, wow, like we could actually have this be a well-oiled machine and me still be able to get 8 hours of sleep at night. Imagine that. And so yeah, so it's, things include we're exploring being in retail for the first time ever. I mean, my skincare spas in Dallas were our retail, but we shut them down in the past 3, 4 years. So now we're exclusively a product company. So skincare products sold exclusively from ReneeRouleau.com. So we're not in any retailers. We've been selling online, as I mentioned, since 1999. We ship all over the world. We do very well online. But there's, especially in a post-pandemic world and the way the internet is more crowded these days, we think that maybe we need to explore a retail opportunity. So that's very exciting. I continue to innovate with new products. The goal is to help push out new products faster, because again, it was just all me. And now we have 2 new people as part of my new product development team that I certainly didn't have a year ago. And so yeah, continue to innovate with great, amazing products. And yeah, so there's lots of things that we're exploring right now that in a way feel scary, but scary is a sign of growth. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, I never thought I would do that. I always said no to that. And now I'm like, YOLO, why not? So it's an exciting time. And I said to my team yesterday, I said, I know 3 years from now, I'm going to look back on like where we are then versus where we were here. And I'm going to be like, oh my gosh. So I really see a lot of exciting things happening in my company. But a lot of that is me continually letting go, delegating more, and really using my skills where the company really needs me. Because right now I'm still doing a lot of things that don't make sense that I'm doing. There's someone else that could do it better than I. And so we're kind of turning all that upside down right now and really and working smarter, not harder.
Nice. So for people kind of looking to find out more about you, what are kind of the best ways to stay in contact or get in touch and kind of do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So all things reneerouleau.com. So that's probably our website is probably the best place to go if you want to learn about skin. If you want to take our skin type quiz and get a skincare routine curated for your website. I mean, sorry, for your own skin type. And then all the links to our social channels are there. Sign up for our emails. We have really great skincare content, even if you don't want to try my products. I've been a practicing esthetician for 35 years. I know everything about skin, still learning because there's still more things to learn. But if you are curious about how to care for your skin, how do I get rid of these dark circles? What can I do for acne? I mean, all the things. We have incredible content from my blog that we feed into our emails. And then all the social channels, TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. For me, I have my personal Instagram and company Instagram because I have a lot of things to talk about more so than just skin, where that's our company, Renee Rouleau Skincare. Instagram is more about skin, where my Instagram is, yes, I talk about skin, but I talk a lot about entrepreneurship and success tips and just, my life and travel and adventure and all the things kind of behind the scenes, running our company. And so that's if people want to know more about the different hats I wear, my personal Instagram, Renee Rouleau, would be the one to go to.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show today. It was hard to believe it's already been 40 minutes. Like it's gone by. It's been such a fun, cool, interesting conversation to hear
Thanks,
about
Troy.
everything you've had going on.
Yeah, and I want to ask you one quick question.
Sure.
What's your two questions? What's your what you love most about living in Austin, and where's your favorite place to eat?
So I'd say two things with Austin. One, the weather primarily. Even though we have this huge ice storm, like I much prefer the 105-degree summer days over the 32, 20, -10-degree winter days that I used to experience when I grew up north as well.
Yeah.
So that's one. But then two, I think one of the things you mentioned in talking about the Northeast is because so many people in Austin are not originally from here.
Right.
It feels like it's a very welcoming city, right? Like almost everyone you meet seems more open because they were either 2 years ago or 20 years ago new to Austin as well. And so I think part of it's the mindset of someone who's willing to move somewhere else is they're just more open to meeting other people. And so
Right.
it
Yeah.
has just kind of a cool mindset that way. Whereas like say, if you're up in the Northeast, it's kind of like, do I need to know you? Then I don't. If I don't, then I'm not going to. Like, there's
Yeah.
not really a reason to
Yeah.
to get out there. Favorite restaurant? I mean, it definitely depends a little bit on the mood you're in. There's a barbecue place that's kind of up north by me called Interstellar Barbecue that
Oh
is
yeah.
amazing. They actually got rated as the second best barbecue place in Texas by Texas Monthly Magazine 6 or so months ago, which has made their lines even longer, unfortunately. But I'm so stoked for them because they put out amazing food. So like that, you can't be anything but happy for their success. So that's a fun place to go. The only downside with it is because I don't go very often, you always buy way too much food because I want one of that, one of that, one of that, one
Yeah.
of that. So you have like food for the next 4 days, which if you're trying to be healthy, and hit those New Year's resolutions, 4 days of barbecue probably
Yeah.
isn't the best way to accomplish that. But it's well worth it.
Very nice. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So appreciate everyone today and hope everyone has a wonderful week. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay. Thank you.